Welcome to Prepare Like a Pro Live Chats. My name's Jack McLean. I created Prepare Like a Pro early in the year. We are a strength and conditioning business that specialise in athlete development for football. If you're interested in working with our coaches, head over to our website, preparelikeapro.com. You can download free training programs. You can start working with us both in face-to-face for technical working, as well as have a coach that works with you that's in your corner for training packages and training programs, both online as well as face-to-face in Melbourne. Really excited tonight to catch up with Dan Baker. For those that don't know Dan, he's currently the president of the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association. Previously, Dan has been the strength and power coach for the world-famous Brisbane Broncos, which he was there for 20 years. And leading them to 4 titles. He has his Ph.D, and unlike most PhDs, he does not work full-time as a lecturer or in the laboratory. He trains athletes in the field, so he both understands the academic side as well as practical. He's a strength and conditioning coach at the elite level, working with international and national level athletes in the following sports: rugby league, union, powerlifting, which he does a bit of himself as well, diving, soccer, track and field, netball, mixed martial arts, just to name a few. He's a level 3 strength and conditioning and master coach, ASCA, and he's recognised in the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association. So going to send Dan an invite now to join us. Dan Baker has joined. Go, Dan. There he is. How you going, Dan?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, well. What's the temperature like in Bali?
Stinking hot and humid.
Stinking hot and humid. Classic. Yeah. Nice, mate. Thanks for jumping on.
To have me on. Thanks for everyone for tuning in, whatever the word is for Instagram.
Yeah, tune in works. You got a few boys and girls tuning in right now, actually. So we'll get cracking straight into it, mate. Take us back to the beginning. When did you discover a passion, and how old were you that elite sport and strength and conditioning was going to be your career path?
Well, probably had a passion from about age 15, but there was no really elite book then. So I can't say that I want to be a strength and conditioning coach because there weren't any in Australia back then. Say 1980.
Yep.
Remember the Australian Institute of Sport? It didn't even think it was formed at that stage. So, but I did a lot of training when I was between 14 or 15. I was a bit overweight and finished the under 14 footy season. I thought I'm going to have a crack and get fit and lose some weight. So I did a lot of exercise and it changed my body, changed my fitness, really into it then. So around age 15 or so, I decided that's be regularly involved in exercise and that. Yeah, there were no role models.
What were there? Was there fitness guys at all, or was it ex-players that were looking after fitness, or did players just get fit by playing the sport?
It was the coach normally did your fitness, which was run 10 laps the field or something and do some push-ups and sit-ups or something like that. I also went and joined my brother's boxing gym, and he had a very good boxing coach in Queensland, and it was just do what you were told, and we'd go to boxing and start off with a 5K road run, come back and then jog on the spot, punching dumbbells in the air for 5 3-minute rounds. So before you even put a glove on, you've done 35 minutes of aerobic training before you even put a glove on, and then everything was 3 minutes on, 30 seconds off.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah, and you do that for an hour and a half, 2 hours, stuff like that. So you just sort of learn like that, and you read a couple of general books on fitness, something like that. But it was very, very general, not much knowledge around.
Yeah, okay. So cool. So 15, you're exposed to, you changed your body, did some boxing, got exposed to different things, and you're playing rugby, football at the time. When were you first exposed to a fitness coach or an S&C, or were you always your own trainer and then you became a coach? Were you one of the first ones?
Pretty much my own coach. Yeah, we didn't have them. They just didn't exist. Proper strength and conditioning coach didn't exist back then. Best you had was a phys ed teacher.
Yeah, the phys ed
I was lucky, I suppose. We had one phys ed teacher. He was a Commonwealth Games gold medalist in the 400 metres hurdles, Gary Brown. He won the gold medal in Brisbane Commonwealth Games. He had a silver medal before in Edmonton in 1978. So I suppose you could say that was the first exposure to someone having some elite knowledge.
Yeah.
There. So I suppose in that way it was him, but that was just like for fitness, for 400 type running and cross country. Good cross country coach at high school too, Gary McDonald. Now it's hard to believe that someone like me would run cross country, but I used to do a lot of running, and I was in the school cross country as well as being a first 15 prop.
Wow.
Props. It's a bit.
Wow. It's impressive.
It's a bit of a different thing, but I had a really good cross-country coach too, John McDonald. He had us doing hill at lunchtime and then long-distance work after school. It was awesome. Brutal.
Yeah. What would be your body weight, and what were your longer running sessions back then doing cross-country running and being a prop?
8 kilometres with the most we do for schoolboys. I used to do a lot of work around 5. 8's hurt me a bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't big, so I was only maybe 74 kilograms. You remember, this is before everyone did weights. There was no big Polynesian kids or something in Australia back. I was just surfer and surf lifesaver, but I was reasonably strong.
Yeah,
difficult. Yeah, playing rugby league and rugby union, and my dad, I should say, I had three brothers, so there's four boys. And he made us a homemade weight each. It's like 2 paint tins.
Oh, yeah. My grandpa did that for my dad, for the quads, leg extensions.
So
good for the knee.
Home. And one for each. I was the youngest, so there was no progressive overload. When you could lift your next brother's up barbell, you moved to it. That was it. But I suppose I had my own barbell like that when I was about 10 or 12. I don't know how much it weighed, maybe 15 kilograms. I don't know. I know my oldest brother's barbell was about 70. So just whatever weight they were.
Sink or swim. Yeah. Adapt, find a way.
When you had to do like a cheap reverse curl type power clean from hang, and
that's impressive that you were doing that. Where would you have seen that? Was there much of that going on? Was the track and field coach?
Cleans were. You remember there was no bench press around back then. People hadn't seen it. There's no video or anything. So when you pressing, so we did overhead press, bent over rows, curls, and this half squat. You have to clean it, put it on your shoulders, do a sort of a half squat.
Oh, to get it onto your back. Yeah,
press it off again. We didn't do much squats. But mainly did a lot of just lift it up and press, clean it up and dollar press. That was the main thing. Did that in rows. I can't remember doing too much else. Press.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, cool. And you mentioned your dad and your brother. So who are some other influences or mentors early on in your career?
I have to say, I read and look at a lot of people. Everyone. I joined the University Powerlifting Club at Queensland University, and we had a guy there, Glenn Waskill. He was second and third in the world in the 75K class, and I used to go and train with him. He trained mid-morning, so I just made sure I trained mid-morning when he was there, watched him train, and after a while, we're the only two there, in the morning, he'd say, can you spot me? 300K in the bar. Yeah. Hope he doesn't miss it. Just not in the power rack, just freestanding on the platform.
Safety arm.
No safety arm, no nothing. What do I do if he misses this?
Yeah, you're both going down.
Luckily, he didn't miss. But so he was a big influence. Practical stuff, and not programming, because he was like high level and crazy. He used to squat 3 days a week, and the days he didn't squat, he'd deadlift 3 days a week. It's like 6 days a week to smash his lower body. It's like max weights every day. It's like, he would help with a lot of the minutiae of lifting and technique and the little things around the sport, things about adaptations and stuff like that. But I could never follow his programs. Like, it was just
So was that the first time you'd seen someone lifting that weight?
Yeah, so there was a couple of good guys in my club. It was him, a guy called Wayne Scarf, who came fourth in World Championships in powerlifting, and a couple of guys who'd come over occasionally from Ipswich, Dino Tocci and Mason Jardine. They'd come over and lift as well, and they were like both second in the world as well in 90 kilos, Mason 110s for Dino. So you get Dino's 110K. He got massive deadlifter back then. It was 800-pound deadlifter, 360-something K, 240K bench. And that's raw. So that you'd see those guys and go, holy shit.
Superhumans, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we could say back in the 80s, let's just say that drug testing didn't exist.
Yeah, a bit of help. Yeah.
Everyone they were competing against, drug testing didn't exist for either. So they were just lifting really big weights, and it's pretty inspirational. Or it changed your mindset of what you think is possible.
Absolutely, when you see it.
Like lifetime drug-free like me, think, okay, well, if someone's 300 kilograms, say there, what is possible for me? Maybe it's 220, I don't know. We didn't really know. So whereas now we think, well, actually, that stuff has given them a huge assistance. Well, people who take it, I'm not saying those guys took it, I'm just saying generally. But
as a reference point.
Yeah, you didn't know what your reference point is. And so you just kept pushing along. And sometimes it's disheartening because you think, I don't know, am I doing well or am I not doing well? As a natural athlete, I don't know. But it was also, they were always very helpful to me in coaching. Any advice I could go ask Mason or Dino or Wayne or Glenn or any of those guys are always very helpful. They were a big influence in just the nuances and smaller detail of being a high-level strength athlete, just watching them train, and any advice I ever needed. They'd scale it back reality of intermediate level.
Absolutely. Okay, so that makes it. So they sort of open your eyes up to powerlifting and what is possible in the strength game. And then what about working as a coach in rugby? How did you get to your role as a strength power coach at the Broncos? What was the progression? What did it look like?
Right. So when Ben Johnson went positive at the 88 Seoul Olympics, that was a really good thing for sports, as in people got serious about drug testing then. And after that, Australia started to win medals because drug testing became serious at the Olympics. Therefore, the Australian government then got serious about sport, and they started ASADA, or was ASDA then, did drug testing, put money into sport. And that sort of saw the profession grow. Then Australian Institute of Sport had hired strength coaches, Harry Wardell, Elvin Giles, Julian Jones's dad, Lynn Jones, and a few others. And So they started to get professional in the late 80s and early 90s. And then the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association, we had started in 1988, Gary Eggers and Ian King, in a relationship with NSCA. And we're originally NSCA Australia, but 1991, they sort of disbanded us. The NSCA made a unilateral decision to disband us without telling us. And in about 1991. And then, so I was lecturing in courses for the ASCA, and I did a course with Ross O'Reilly, who was working with the Redcliffe Dolphins, which is a Brisbane feeder team, Broncos now, and Paul Bunn as well. And they said, would you be interested to do work with Redcliffe next year in the State League? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. As a strength coach, didn't have conditioning, just come in and do strength twice a week with them. And I did that, and we were successful. We won the grand finals that they were in, Redcliffe. We won the A grade, reserve grade, C grade, under-19s, under-17s, under-15s in pub league. It was a really big, successful year. So at the start of the next year, Super League kicked off in Australia, the big fight for it at least. And Ross O'Reilly, the coach, said, have you had a call from any of the Super League teams yet? This on a Monday. It started, this battle for Super League started on a Saturday morning. And I said, no. He said, you'll get one tonight, because if they're going to pay players twice as much money or 3 times as much money as they are now, they're going to need to invest in the training of those players. So you'll probably get a call because you've done a really good job for us. And I went home that night and I had a message on my machine from Kelvin Giles to ring him about working for the Broncos the following year. So that's how I sort of got started. Yeah. The feeder club Redcliffe, and did a really good job there. And,
got recognised. And a
lot of the players who were my feeder players, this is why I say you reap what you sow. At Redcliffe, who I wrote programs from their 13, 15. They were like Petro Simonsivos in the 17s, Dane Carwell, Brent Tate. So I had a lot of these guys that I retrained Redcliffe for 2 years. When I went to the Broncos, they were then signed to go to the Broncos. Yeah, so if I thought these kids aren't important, I'm only work with the A grade or the reserve grade. Who's this Brent Tate, this 13-year-old idiot, or the Dane? Who are these kids to bother me? Program, which I never think like that. But if you're like that, you're missing out the big picture, because you reap what you sow. If you do a good job and start these kids when they're 13 and show interest in them, and they make it all their way through, they are indebted to you. And they love you. Their parents love you.
Yeah.
You're helping them when they're 13 to get into the under-15 elite squad. And from under-15 elite squad to the 17s. From 17s then to a Broncos contract. And then a Broncos under-17 contract, under-19 contract, a big boy contract.
So yeah. You can make a big impact.
Yeah, you make an impact. If you are out there and you're working with any kids 13 to 17, do a good job. They can ask for you sometime in their future. I heard players saying, I want to get this guy who worked with me when I was 15. He's great. He's a superstar now, an NRL player or AFL. And you get dragged up all of a sudden because this player's got an injury and he wants you to look after him. So if you're working with 13 to 17-year-old players in elite development, don't get disheartened. They are a joy to work with, but they can also really help your career sometime. You just don't know when. Just always do a great job.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great message. That flows on into my next question. What are some key focuses with developing athletes of yours? What are your pillars?
A little bit different now. Kids back then all moved pretty well. It's like no one couldn't do a full squat. Everyone could do a full squat without even talking about it. Everyone had good mobility and could touch their toes to the floor, hands to the floor, hamstring-wise. But now you've got to concentrate on movement first. Do they move well in multi-planar situations?
Yep.
And then once we've got them moving well, hopefully by age 10, then we can start loading up with body weight exercises and soft resistance. Soft resistance, I mean, is not barbell weights, using sandbags and medicine balls and bands. I'm not a big believer in using barbells till after they finish their peak height velocity growth spurts, because the technique's going to change anyhow when they go through these growth spurts. And they're really starting barbells, and sometimes you don't know they hit peak height velocity until 3 to 6 months after they're in it, and you're seeing them struggling with technique like baby giraffe being born. So in waiting till after they've definitely finished it, and you can overload them with goblet squats with sandbags and things like that, and then go to barbells once they finish peak height velocity, sometime around 14 or 15 months.
Yeah. And that's because their movement competency won't be changed with the growth. It will be steady after they've reached their peak height.
Just get on. That is all shit.
It all changes. Yeah. Makes sense.
Got a long barbell on their shoulders. It's unstable, that long barbell. So I think goblet squat, if you want to use a kettlebell in front, use a kettlebell or dumbbell in front, but not a barbell as they're going through those things. Certainly if you want to front load, reload, goblet squat or dumbbell, that's okay too. But a long barbell and a back squat is just a recipe for disaster for a lot of kids, especially the tall kids in basketball, volleyball, AFL, some of the taller rugby league and union guys. A recipe for disaster. Barbell, back squat, growth spurts.
Use your other tools that you can still progressively overload.
And then once they finish that, I still favour the front squat over the back squat first few years. Do both, but I test with the front squat. And once they finish high school or 17 or 18, I change the testing to test back squat. Do the front squat 1 day of the week, back squat the other, test on the back squat. So I just flip it as by 17 or 18, they fill that a bit more.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's the front squat requires more mobility, like you're saying. So it's like a constraint that makes them do their thoracic work. And and then when they're older, they've grown, you can go for the bigger lifts, like the back squat. Yeah. Cool.
And the front squat sets you up. Then if you want to do Olympic lifting, well, you've got that.
You've got it.
You've got that front rack position. You've got all those things. You've got all that overhead mobility that the front squat gives you. Overhead work. And obviously with growth and development too, if you can do that aerobic work when you're going through a growth spurt, we're getting that add-on effect with your heart and lungs. So we're not just getting bigger in our muscles, but if we do some aerobic work, even if it's low intensity, aerobic threshold or maximal lactate steady state, which is above that, 20 or 30 minutes, like stuff I used to do at school, run for 5 kilometres, 8 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week. That's fine too. It really adds to your aerobic capacity, growth and development way, and sets you up for life as well. So I don't think kids in the gym 6 days a week when they're 13 or 14, 2 or 3 days a week in the gym, 2 or 3 days of aerobic work, planning and give you a good base to develop the athlete, obviously with the movement stuff around that.
Absolutely. And how about the opposite end of the spectrum, the athletes that are wanting to prolong their careers by a year or two? How does your approach change with those guys, which I'm sure you had plenty on the
keep on the cutting edge, man. My thing is you don't lose strength as you get older. It might be hard to gain, but don't lose strength. Just say, I'm getting old. What's an old athlete? They call themselves 28. I'm pretty old now. I'm 55. I'm still training hard. I think they get soft in the mind sometimes, older athletes. Oh, mate, I don't want to push my body too hard this year. As soon as you hear that, I'm worried about my legacy. If I hear the word legacy, it's like, get out of here. When I'm watching the UFC fights and I hear a champion talk about his legacy, my wife and I go, if we gamble, put money against him, as soon as they say legacy or they look in the future, not involved in the process of now. The process of now is being excellent, be the best athlete you can be, and knowing that your opponent wants to, like especially in rugby, wants to smash you. It's all about the advantage line and dominating your opponent at the advantage line. So if you think, that advantage line is going to be a bit softer to hit this year, when does that ever happen? Is that contact being a bit softer this year than it was last year?
It's getting bigger and bigger every year. Yeah.
As guys want to knock you off your pitch. That's why we have some really good role models, the Broncos, and Dane Webke, Brad Thorne, Petro Simmons, those guys who just never let their strength go backwards, ever. Always made sure they're 100% strength.
Yep.
Dan, I'm taking it easy this year. It's not even in their mindset because they know whether the positions they play their role as battering rams. And they were really good. Then again, every Broncos player was pretty much like that.
Didn't have that mindset.
Yeah. They might have had it, but they didn't stay there long. They got found out. They shipped them on before the end.
Yeah, fantastic. It's good culture, and obviously worked as well, which is always nice. How about you're in Bali at the moment? You said you're still training hard. What has life been like in 2020, and what are you excited about for 2021?
Well, we got stuck here. I was working for ASCA, lecturing in the Philippines and doing a level 2 course. I'm supposed to do a level 1 course the following weekend, and the president of the Philippines said at 9:30, and I sat on a Friday night, 9:30 p.m. He said, closing the borders at 12 midnight tomorrow. So we sort of jumped up out of bed. My wife and I booked a flight out at 6 p.m. following night. First flight we could get out of the Philippines, and we got back to Bali, and then Bali locked down, so we got sort of stuck here. But it's okay because we have a home here in Bali, so we got stuck here, and we're still stuck here, and we'll be stuck here for a long time. No way out. Yeah, Bali's fine, mate. There's a lot of people doing it tough who work in tourism. There's domestic tourists here from other islands, but they don't spend like Australians, spend food, money on grog or anything like that. So a lot of people lost their jobs in tourism.
Yeah.
And generally, people don't panic about COVID here. Like we have 1,000 active cases a day here. Any given day, there's 1,000 active cases, and there's 100 or so new cases every day. It's 100 recoveries every day, 100 new cases every day. Life goes on. We've had less deaths here than Melbourne. I think Australia just panics. 30 people in Sydney. They go, COVID, shut the country. Bali, people got COVID, quarantine them. Life goes on. Just got to wear a mask when you go out. That's it.
Yeah.
Wear a mask. We get a temperature taken. Every time you go out, you get a temperature taken. Wash your hands, sanitize, wear a mask. Once you're outside, sitting at a restaurant, your own table, take your mask off. Anyone enters your space, they have to wear a mask. It's the way to start. That's pretty good. Simple. Outside, go on, wear a mask. I've got like 7 different masks. Go for a walk, wear a mask. So like all I've done here lately this year is work online and train 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So I lost a bit of weight for a while, and I put some on, but I had a 4-pack of abs a couple of weeks ago. I don't know where it's gone now.
Fantastic. So getting strong, getting lean.
Yeah, I'm getting. Can't get my strength back. I week before last, 2 weeks in a row, I squatted 5 on 175. That's max effort. Deadlift 5 on 190. So nowhere near to even 2 years ago, but that's about all I seem to be able to do these days. So that's 5. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll be happy if I can do that.
I can't knock those weights out every week. That's like it's this week I only did 5 on 165 in the squat. So a deload week last week, and so I had some dental surgery, so I had to have a few days off. So I did a lot of training and just building back up again.
Yeah. So you smashed yourself just before the dental, knowing you were going into a time where you had to offload.
Well, I timed my deloads, and knowing now it's going to be Christmas and New Year, so I'll just do some volume stuff. So all I've done this year is a lot of training and a lot of professional development, reading and stuff like that, because I normally travel to China 8 times a year.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, so it's had a fair shift.
Yeah.
And there's some exciting things going ahead with ASCA next year?
Oh, well, we'll wait and see. Obviously, this COVID has changed the landscape of everything, how we work and all that. So obviously, we're putting a lot of the coursework, level 1 will be online as an online option. You still have to do a practical exam and practical sessions, but that allows us then maybe have a big practical day where people can come in from places to a facility. COVID safely, which that'll depend on every state or nation and how that's done in the future. We're going to put some of the theory online, people who want to do it that way. And then, we had our ASCA online conference this year, which was pretty good. I lied on my couch and put it on the big screen and enjoyed it. It's not as good as interacting with people, but most comfortable I've ever been at a conference.
Did you still rock the party shirt?
I was thinking of next conference, I'm going to take a beanbag.
Why not? When you're at the top, you can do what you want.
So that's, 2020 has just been a year of just waiting around and training. What else can you do? Doing work online and making income, trying to stay alive.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, well, appreciate you jumping on, mate. It's been good sharing your stories and your experiences. So, really appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on. You've had plenty of guests watching us all the way through, so... and it's recorded as well, so I'll make sure to post this in the future. So the wisdom that you shared for the S&Cs working with junior athletes, everyone takes that on board, because I think that was really good advice amongst plenty other gems that you dropped along the way, mate. So thanks for the last half an hour of your time, and hopefully things start to shift with COVID and you can come back to your home country in Oz. And but I guess Bali's not the worst place in the world to be. So,
Thanks for having me on, mate.
Cheers, Dan. Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, Jack.
All the best.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching, guys.
In the background.
That's all good, mate. Cheers, mate. Catch ya.